Hey everybody. So I've been kind of working on something new, and I kind of wanted to share it with everybody here. I've been getting actually a little bit more back into writing. Those of you who've been following me for a while know that writing is my passion, sort of like my big thing. It's the thing that kind of connects everything I'm really into, and it's something I just love kind of talking about, analyzing, studying, and creating, especially here, but yeah, you're probably seeing this and thinking like, okay. And those of you who kind of know more about me are probably thinking, oh boy. But yeah. So if you didn't know, Totally Spies is one of my guilty pleasures. It was one of my favorite cartoons as a kid. I really had sort of like a thing for sort of like that Charlie's Angels sort of like kind of thing, that sort of storyline. Also because I grew up with two older sisters and seeing them with their high school lives, I had like this fondness of high school stories, particularly with women. Yu Yu Hakusho is kind of a similar situation as well, though in that case it's more about just the vibe. That's a different subject, though I'll get to my plan. But anyway, um, I am subscribed to the Totally Spies YouTube channel, and the reason why I bring that up is because I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I'm kind of already getting to the philosophical. It's not really a Flamsaron, aka YouTube's Tosuke, video if I'm not getting like philosophical and like going off track. But especially for a video that should really be just a post, but I'm a little extra, so I like to kind of go the full mile. But anyway, I'm a night owl, and I would tend to scroll down my feeds and stuff while I'm in bed, just kind of chilling, particularly on my nights off. But I would always see a new video uploaded to the Totally Spies channel. And I think they're based. I imagine the people who are running that channel are actually based in France, so that's probably part of the reason why the time was like that. But anyway, with the announcement of season 7 and that kind of running its course, or at least halfway running its course, because I know that there's a whole thing with like Warner Brothers and Paramount and Netflix and all that. That's a whole can of worms. But essentially, with season 7 kind of getting started, and they started uploading it to they uploaded the first 3 episodes to the YouTube channel. At the time when I started this, it was like they uploaded, I think, the first one, and I kind of got bit by the bug again because I was telling myself, you know what, when season 7 starts, I'm gonna try and watch the whole thing. I'm gonna get actually back into it, and I kind of did. So like I decided after that first episode, like, well, I don't want to wait like a whole week because I assumed it was going to be a weekly schedule. It's actually not, but I didn't want to wait like that long to watch, more of the show. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and watch season 6 because that's the one season I know the least about because that didn't air during the prime time of Totally Spies. It was supposed to end at season 5, but then they did season 6, and I remember being in college and they announced it. Or they were talking about, and I had heard there were early rumblings about season 7 as well. And as far as we know, there's supposed to be a season 8. But yeah, so I watched all of season 6, and then I decided, I'm going to go back and do season 1, and then season 2. I'm currently on season 3. I haven't watched a lot lately, but to kind of summarize briefly, I've kind of gotten back more into Totally Spies, and I would consider it probably one of my favorite cartoons now, maybe at least in 4th place under Dexter's Lab, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Samurai Jack. Oddly enough, all Cartoon Network shows. And of course, Totally Spies is one of the cartoons that kind of shifted to different. I saw it on Cartoon Network, but it was on different networks. But anyway, I got inspired to write a fanfic. And it mainly started off because I was just kind of playing around with stuff and trying to come up with some smut. But as I was working with it and kind of like coming up with different ideas, I'm not going to say exactly what I did, but if you know, you know. And no, it's not what you're thinking either, weirdo. I know that's strange coming from me, given what you're looking at and given what the show is kind of known for. And that's one thing I noticed about the show. A lot of the stuff people were saying about it are kind of exaggerated. I'm not going to say they're not there, because I am at least somewhat reasonable. But yeah, anyway, I'm thinking like, I could actually do something with this. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna actually put some real effort into this and write a friggin' fanfic about this situation that you can see here. So, and also a special shout out to my friend Kiki. She brought up the idea of doing what's called a writing sprint. I'm not really a social writer, and there's a lot of like online writing things that I just don't really know about. One of them being the sprints, but she brought them up to me, and I told her about this project. I'm like, then we started kind of writing together, and I was able to get it, this first part more or less done and up and running. So, and I put a lot of care into it. So, Kiki, if you happen to be watching this, thank you very much. I really appreciate, being able to write with you and stuff and connect with you in this way. But, yeah, so that's basically what this video is. This long-ass video already. I'm not even looking at the the recording, but I already know it's probably like longer than it needs to be, because that's just kind of how I do things. I ramble. But when I'm in my own space, I can ramble if I want to. But, yeah, so it's going to be a 3-part series of this first one. As you can tell, it's focusing on Clover, who's kind of become my new favorite. I used to be an Alex guy, but I've sort of switched over to Clover. And so I decided to write it from her perspective and have her sort of deal with it, which I think, given who she is, this also does kind of make sense, and it also kind of doesn't. And I'll talk more about some little nuanced stuff later on. But yeah, the first part of this 3-part story is up on my Archive of Our Own page, because I'm decided I'm going to actually, do some real public writing and put some stuff on there. I have the first part of this story is on there. A story that I wrote in college is on there, and then also a shitpost story that's also a 3-part story. Well, I'm actually working on the second part right now, Project One Mortal. That's going up. That's up there, at least the first part. Under the different pseuds, I think is what they call them, like pseudonyms, so like different stuff and whatnot. But the main one has the Totally Spies story on there. And honestly, after I'm done with this 3-part one, I'm actually going to do one on Alex next. That'll be maybe a 2-parter. I want to kind of do this in sort of like an interesting formatting way, to where like the number kind of changes with each one. But then like Sam, I'm going to do one for her as well. And then after that, I'm going full on out crossover fanfic. I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to go full force with this and do more with it than just tell a story about Totally Spies. So I'm going to do like a crossover thing with some other stuff I like, because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a little bit of fun, and that's the thing here. Like, I had a lot of fun writing this story. It was actually a lot of fun, and if you've read the story, or if you read the story, you'll see kind of I hope that kind of comes across, that I'm having fun just writing this, and and my writing style is already pretty dialogue heavy, and I tried to sort of keep it, as close to a real Totally Spies episode as much as I can. In fact, I'll go ahead and say, if you're hoping for this first part to have some sort of craziness to it that's gonna make it feel more like something deviant, it's not going to be there, not in this one. This is just mainly to set the stage for stuff, because I didn't want to like just jump into it. I wanted to kind of ease into it, so it's going to be a 3-part story. I know this is kind of already giving away what's going on, but with this image, which I actually had this commissioned from a person named Dot. I found her on ArtStation. I'll have a link to her Instagram, which is what she asked to provide, because she gave me permission to show this on the YouTube and on the socials maybe. But I do want to note on her Instagram, it does say that her commissions are closed, yet she still did this for me. I don't know if it was just due to the nature of the project, because the way I described it made it sound like it was a cover art kind of thing. And if I do post the story elsewhere, like on Wattpad, I might use this for the cover art, because I don't think Archive of Our Own has like image stuff. Though for what I have planned for the later stuff, having an image will be actually pretty helpful. But yeah, so this first part, the story's called Clover's Gone Totally Bespoke, as you can tell. The first part is up, and like I said, it's more like a regular episode. with a little bit of some extra stuff in there to kind of set the stage for things. And I do try to kind of format it like an episode. It's not a script. It's prose, but like I said before, I'm pretty dialogue heavy with my writing style. And also, but I do also have like the location and like the time that they do in the episodes. And I try to have some sass from the characters here and there. I'd like to think I wrote them relatively well. You guys can let me know. But I've been promoting it all over the place, and so far it's been doing quite well. I feel like this is going to be good practice for future projects that I have in mind with some more original stuff. But yeah, so hope you guys check it out. And I guess since I brought it up, maybe to kind of make things a little more fun and make this video a little more interesting, I'll tell you a little bit about this art piece here. So as you can see, we've got Clover here. It's supposed to be an image of her and like the gang standing in front of like a mall mirror, and like Clover's trying on this new suit because yes, I put Clover in a suit. Why? Well, but why this color? That's the color that I don't remember if I came up with this or what I was using came up with it. I do also want to note this is entirely me. I wrote this entirely myself. I didn't have any sort of like help. Really, when I was writing with Kiki, I would show her some of it, and she gave me some pointers on stuff, particularly with the fighting scene that's going to happen, or the fighting section, I should say. I had her help me with that just because I was kind of concerned about that because I love martial arts, as y'all know, and I wanted to kind of make sure I got that good because I wanted to actually show like some real martial arts and not just have them just like fight, because in the show they do show that these girls have some like skill, and in season 6 in particular, and this takes place in between season 6 and 7. So it would be around the time where as it's shown in the story, they're all brown belts in karate. That's going to come into play in the second part with Clover, and you'll understand why. But yeah, I tried to give everyone sort of like distinctive styles. Like Clover, I kept the karate girl, and Alex knows kung fu. Sam, I have no idea. But yeah, so, and yeah, it's sort of a fashion crisis sort of thing where Clover is doubting her sense of style, and that doesn't really sound like her, I know. And quite frankly, to kind of make this story work, I did have to break her character a little bit to kind of suit the needs of the story. That being said, I do feel like there is some truth in this, because as I was watching the show, I learned some things about her. I also learned that like she has in fact worn suits before, not a suit like this. In fact, Alex has been more of like the shirt and tie type, whereas Clover's more of like the chic sort of like, blazer and skirt type with the suits. So there was one episode where she wore like an old school sort of woman's suit where it kind of looks like a cardigan with a skirt and a shirt with it, something like that. So she wore that when she was trying to be all sophisticated for her latest crush. But yeah, so that's why she looks kind of nervous here, like where she's not entirely sure. And this uncertainty is going to come into play with how she handles dressing like this for the remainder of the story, because I think you guys will be a little surprised at where I'm taking this story, both if you know me personally and also if you have certain implications to what kind of story Totally Spies is going to be. In fact, I'll go ahead and say this, even though I'm getting really ahead of myself. I'm actually going to make fun of y'all when I get to the final part of the whole thing, because it's going to come back to Totally Spies. But I had an idea of what I can do to kind of just poke fun at all the people who are sort of exaggerating what this story, what this show kind of does. Because if you've seen the memes and if you've been online for a while, kind of like, okay, well, this show is kind of a certain thing, even though it's a children's show. But of course, I'm 45% sure it's written by men, older men, and that for that matter. But yeah, so this whole suit thing, this is going to kind of change Clover a bit. I don't want to go too much into what I have planned, but I do have the entire story planned, and Most of it, I think, will actually show up in the second part. The third part is going to be kind of where I be a bit more direct in what's going on in Clover's mind as to why she made this change. But of course, Alex and Sam, as you see, they're supporting her and stuff. And then the character behind Clover with that sort of in that sort of maroon outfit, that's actually an original character. Her name's Irina Cortez. She's a tailor. She's the antagonist for this first part. Will she come back? I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, I crafted her for the story. And she's an evil woman. She's doing mean things to other tailors. All because she wants to be number one in England. Yeah, they go to England, because why not? And then Mandy is behind Alex near the bottom right corner. The instruction I gave the artist was that she's supposed to kind of look like she is trying not to care, but she does kind of care a little bit. That will also come into play. And later on, mainly in the second part, it'll be short-lived. I'm not going to say what exactly I have planned, and I think that's actually going to be probably, even though, again, it's breaking Clover's character a little bit, although if you've been watching Season 7, you might have a different opinion on that. But also, I feel like it's in character for Mandy, considering what she does with what happens. You will find out. And then Jerry, he's going to play a pretty big part as well. I got pretty fun with him with the sassiness. I was just sort of like messing around and stuff. But he's over there. He's kind of all for this new look for Clover. I'm saying all this stuff as if all this stuff's happening, within like the first part. In truth, like, I guess I can go ahead and spoil you guys. Like the suit stuff's, or Clover getting her suit and starting to wear that doesn't happen until near the end. So the only characters who really kind of have exposure to seeing this new style for Clover is Sam and Alex. But yeah, but Jerry, he's Jerry. He'll support his kids anyway. They're not actually his kids, but he cares about them. He's a pretty cool cat. Seems to be holding something. I wonder what that's about. I actually know what that's about, but I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, so like I said, kind of got a bit of a plan here, but I just wanted to sort of share this little story and talk about it. Sorry that it was kind of rambly. Shit, it's almost 20 minutes. I was expecting this to be maybe 10 minutes, but I decided to go overboard. But yeah, I figured I'd just talk about this little project here. Like I said, it's going to be a 3-part story, and then after that, I'll probably do one on Alex next, and that one will be kind of interesting. I've been kind of thinking about that one as well, sort of planning what I have going on for that one. Sam's is going to be probably the most challenging to write, I think. And I think it'll also be the most difficult to read, depending on what kind of person you are. Because there's some subject matter in that story that will be difficult for some people to read, and I'm trying to make sure it doesn't come across as preachy, but we'll get to that when we get to it. And there'll also be some other original characters showing up, and there'll be some fighting. That's kind of my thing. In fact, I kind of have in my mind sort of a scene between Clover and some opponent where it's kind of like Dragon Ball Z. Like, think they call it the meteor combination that Goku does against Piccolo in the tournament in Dragon Ball. But we will get to that in the future. I'm pretty proud of this project. I had a lot of fun writing it, so I hope you'll check it out. Like I said, there'll be a link in the description to the story itself, where you can also read some of my other stuff, and then also I'll have a link in the description to Dot's Instagram if you want to check out some of her work. She's a great artist, and I was trying to find someone who kind of blended Season 6 with Season 7, and I found her art. I literally just typed in Totally Spice fan art on Google and just like scrolled down, because there was someone I had in mind, but they do like very stylized art, and I didn't think they'd be willing to. Plus, they also weren't open for commissions, and I didn't want to bother them. I kind of got lucky with Miss Dot here, in that I decided to just contact her immediately, and then I saw her on her Instagram. Oh, she's not open for commissions. Well, I'm going to ask anyway. But yeah, and she got it done pretty quickly too. So it was really cool, sort of seeing this little piece come to life. So, yeah, I guess that's more or less it. Clover's gone totally bespoke. As you can see here, she has in fact gone bespoke. What brand she went with, I don't know. I don't know. And like I said, it's a different kind of story. In truth, she probably actually wouldn't wear this, or she might. That'd be funny if like down the line in like season 8, they're all like, "Let's all wear suits," and she's all like, "I'm gonna wear a suit now and have a cape," and she'll be one of those types. I don't know. Like I said, I do feel like the first part could work well as a regular episode. It would have to be sort of altered, I think, to really fit and be a bit more self-contained, I think, because I wrote it to... It is mostly self-contained if you just want to read that and then like just not read anything else. But I do have to be totally continued at the bottom to let people know like, hey, there's more. So yeah, this was a nice little fun project that I did, and if you read it, I hope you guys liked it, and yeah, hope you guys look forward to the next part. I'm working on the second part of Project One Moral right now because I've gotten into a bit of a writing routine at this point. And then some original stuff's going to be coming relatively soon. I won't say anything about that because I'm trying to keep that a bit more secretive. But yeah, hope this suits your fancy, literally. But yeah, if you check it out, let me know what you think. And yeah, share it with your friends if you want to. And hope you guys like this little art piece. I don't know if I'll post it anywhere, but I just kind of wanted it just to sort of have something nice to kind of look at. And it's kind of, even though this is another weird thing about writing this project too. Like, I have never really gotten this attached and had this much excitement writing for characters that aren't mine before. I've usually been pretty sort of OC oriented, but I had a lot of fun just like with the actual writing process of this. So yeah, this was a lot of fun to write, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. And I hope sort of my amusement with the story kind of comes across, because there's a little bit of humor in there. I try to sort of throw in a little bit of my own twang in there, just because it'd be kind of boring if it's just a literal Totally Spies episode where they all talk the same, like their show counterparts. But I throw a little bit of modern stuff in there because even since it's set between seasons, 6 and 7, that there's kind of a, if you follow the rule of like each season is a year in their life, and the show started in like 2001, well then that technically puts them in like 2007, 2008, and some of the lingo that's used was not really used that often, if at all, back then. But I'm kind of working on the assumption that like it takes place kind of in modern times, about as modern as it can be. But yeah, I've been thinking about this little project a lot, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to kind of see whatever everyone's reaction will be to where the story goes. Because like I said, I don't think you guys are expecting me to take it where I'm going to take it, because especially people who know me quite well, I think sort of where you're might be expecting will be a little off, maybe. Or maybe you're expecting me to take it this way anyway, because I tend to kind of like give my characters more... I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But yeah, so I'm going to be quiet now. You guys go read it, and then let me know what you think. Hope you like it. Thanks. Bye.